What happens when a black woman walks into a fancy restaurant, and they refuse to serve her, without knowing she's the CEO of the company that owns it? Stick around, because what unfolds next is not just revenge, it's a masterclass in dignity. If you love real stories where the underestimated rise and the arrogant fall, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next. The glass doors slid open with a soft hiss as Nia Caldwell stepped into the lavish lobby of Brunel and Oak, one of the city's most exclusive restaurants. Her stiletto heels clicked against the marble floor, each step a quiet declaration of presence and power. Dressed in an elegant black pantsuit with gold cufflinks glinting subtly at her wrists, she looked every bit the mogul she was. But the moment she entered, it was as if she became invisible. The young hostess at the front, blonde ponytail swaying as she tapped on her tablet, barely glanced up. Behind Nia, a well-dressed white couple came through the door laughing. The hostess immediately straightened up, beamed, and greeted them warmly. "Right this way, Mr. Landers," she said, ushering them past Nia without hesitation. Nia tilted her head slightly, not in anger, but in the calm, calculating manner of someone who has endured this treatment before, and learned to bide her time. She stepped forward. "Excuse me," she said politely. "I have a reservation." The hostess didn't look impressed. "Name?" she asked flatly. "Caldwell. Nia Caldwell." The hostess's fingers tapped a few times, then paused. She raised an eyebrow. "I don't see that here. Are you sure it was for today?" "I made it myself," Nia said, her voice still calm. "Well, we're fully booked. Maybe try somewhere a little more accessible," she said, eyes darting to Nia's dark skin, then quickly away. Nia's lips tightened for a moment. Not from surprise, but from restraint. She reached into her sleek leather bag and pulled out her phone. Behind her, other diners began to notice. One whispered, "Is that the lady from Forbes?" Another nodded. "That's her. She runs half the tech sector." But the hostess didn't recognize her. Or didn't care. Nia held her ground, her expression unreadable. "Before you turn me away, you may want to double-check who signs your paychecks." The hostess scoffed. "Ma'am, I don't have time for games." Nia didn't blink. She simply tapped her screen, scrolled to an email with a corporate seal, and prepared to show the staff just how quickly ignorance can become unemployment. This wasn't just about dinner. This was about respect. And Nia Caldwell was done being silent. The tension in the room was thick enough to slice with a knife. But the hostess didn't seem to notice, or care. She folded her arms across her chest and glanced again at the reservation list like she was doing Nia a favor. Her tone turned curt. "I told you, we're fully booked for the evening. Unless you're a VIP or have a private event, there's nothing I can do." Nia took a slow breath, refusing to be baited. "I am a VIP," she said coolly. And the reservation was confirmed directly through corporate. "Check again, Caldwell, for one." The hostess let out a small, almost amused exhale, like she was being asked to entertain a child's imagination. "Look," she said, leaning closer, "this restaurant has a very selective clientele. Are you sure you didn't mean the bistro across the street?" That was it. Before Nia could reply, a waiter walking past stopped mid-stride, doing a double-take. "Ms. Caldwell," he said, surprised. I didn't know you were coming in tonight." The hostess blinked, suddenly thrown off. "You know her." The waiter nodded. "She's been featured on the cover of Business Maven. She owns stock in the hospitality group that—" he stopped himself, glancing nervously between them. "I mean, she's very important." Nia raised an eyebrow. Now would be a good time to check that reservation again. The hostess, now clearly rattled, fumbled with the tablet. Her fingers suddenly unsure. She tapped frantically, then froze. There it was. Nia Caldwell, 7 p.m. VIP room. Confirmed. "Oh," the hostess stammered. It must have been an error in the system. I didn't see it before." Nia looked her in the eyes, her voice level but piercing. "Or maybe you just didn't look." Behind her, Murmurs had begun to ripple through the dining area. A man at the bar nudged his date. "That's the tech CEO. You know, the one they call the Black Elon." Another whispered, "Is this really happening in a place like Brunel and Oak?" Nia didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Power, when real, doesn't shout, it commands. And right now, the silence in the room was all the volume she needed. "I'd like to speak with your manager," she said. Immediately, the hostess went pale. Nia was done asking nicely. Now, it was time for accountability. Moments later, a man in a navy blazer emerged from the back office, his name tag reading Rick, floor manager. He moved with the cocky confidence of someone used to being in control, eyes scanning the room before landing on Nia. His demeanor shifted instantly, condescending smile, one hand in his pocket. "I hear there's a problem," he asked, glancing at the hostess, who looked like she wanted to disappear. "Yes," Nia replied, calm but direct. "Your hostess refused to acknowledge my reservation, questioned whether I even belonged here, and suggested I try another restaurant. Even after I gave my name." Rick gave a tight, insincere chuckle. "Well, I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding. We're extremely busy tonight. Mistakes happen." Nia didn't smile. She didn't make a mistake. She made an assumption. Rick's jaw twitched, but he maintained his casual tone. "Look, this place isn't for everyone. We have standards. And if you really had a reservation, it'd be right here." He tapped his iPad and pretended to scroll without checking anything. "Nope. Sorry. That was it." Nia's voice dropped, slow and deliberate. "You didn't even search my name." Rick smirked. "Ma'am, I've been managing this location for 5 years. I know our regulars. You're not one of them." A hush fell over the nearby tables. Everyone could feel it. This wasn't just poor service anymore. It was something uglier. Nia calmly reached into her bag and pulled out a sleek black leather case. She flipped it open to reveal her executive ID badge, Caldwell Ventures, founder and CEO. Below it, a gold access card for Kingsley Hospitality Group, the conglomerate that owned Brunel and Oak. Rick's smile faltered. "Wait, what is this?" She held the badge steady. "This is what happens when you dismiss people based on how they look. I'm one of the largest shareholders in the parent company that owns this restaurant. And as of right now, I'm documenting everything for the board." Rick's smirk vanished completely. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Phones were already recording. The atmosphere shifted from passive curiosity to stunned disbelief. "You may want to call someone above you," Nia added, folding her arms. "Because I guarantee they know exactly who I am." And just like that, the power balance flipped. Nia wasn't just a guest. She was the storm walking in with heels and receipts. Rick stood frozen, his eyes locked on the corporate badge in Nia's hand like it had burned a hole through his ego. The casual arrogance he wore so confidently just moments before now dripped away like melted wax. Around them, forks clinked against porcelain, and the hum of polite conversation in the dining room had faded into stunned silence. Nia didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her presence alone commanded attention, and now she had every guest watching. Rick cleared his throat, attempting to recover. "Ms. Caldwell, I wasn't aware of your position. Please accept my—" "Save it," Nia cut in, sharp but controlled. "You weren't supposed to know who I was. You were supposed to treat every guest with dignity. That's how hospitality works. Or at least, how it should." The waiter from earlier lingered nearby, wide-eyed, clearly embarrassed to be affiliated with what was unfolding. The hostess. She'd retreated behind the podium, shrinking further with every word. Nia turned her phone screen toward Rick. On it was her confirmed reservation. Name, time, VIP status, and all. "Next time you want to dismiss someone, maybe try checking the facts before checking their skin color." Rick's mouth opened, then shut. He had nothing. That's when a couple seated at a nearby table spoke up. "Excuse me," the woman said, standing. "Are you Nia Caldwell?" the founder of Caldwell Ventures. Nia nodded politely. Yes. The woman extended her hand. It's an honor. We follow your work. You're the reason my daughter started her own STEM business. You're an inspiration. Rick's face drained of color. Another guest raised a glass. To the woman who built half of Silicon Valley and just exposed this restaurant for what it really is. A small ripple of applause broke out, not loud or dramatic, but sincere. And Rick. He looked like he wanted to vanish into the polished marble floor. Nia turned back to him, calm as ever. I'd like to speak to your regional director. Or better yet, someone from corporate. I'd hate for your personal prejudice to reflect on an entire brand. Rick fumbled for his phone, mumbling, Of course. I'll call them right away. He should have called the moment she walked in. Because now, the story was no longer just local. It was about to go viral. Rick's hands trembled slightly as he stepped aside to make the call. The air around him had shifted. Gone was the smug confidence, replaced with sheer panic and an undercurrent of fear. He ducked behind the service counter, phone pressed to his ear, while Nia stood tall, her poise untouched. She didn't need to eavesdrop, she already knew what was coming. Across the dining room, diners whispered in awe. Phones were still recording. Some guests pretended to sip wine just to get better camera angles. A few were already uploading clips to social media with captions like, "They messed with the wrong woman." Back behind the bar, Rick's voice turned hushed and desperate. "Yes, sir, she's still here. I had no idea. I didn't recognize her. No, she showed me ID. Yes, that Caldwell." A pause. And, "Wait, you're on your way here?" Click. Call ended. Rick looked like he'd seen a ghost. He slowly emerged from behind the counter and approached Nia, visibly sweating. "Ms. Caldwell, there's really no need to escalate this. Let's get you seated now on the house, and—" Nia cut him off. "Too late for that. You don't get to insult someone and then offer a free meal to cover it up. This isn't a dinner fix. It's a culture fix." Suddenly, the front doors opened, and a sleek black SUV rolled to a stop outside. The passenger door flew open and out stepped a sharply dressed man in a gray tailored suit. He moved like someone who didn't have time to waste. All eyes turned as he strode in. Kenneth Drake, Regional Vice President of Operations for Kingsley Hospitality Group. "Ms. Caldwell," he said, his voice calm but urgent. "I came as soon as I heard. I am so deeply sorry." Nia gave a curt nod. Kenneth turned to Rick, his voice suddenly ice. "Your badge. Now." Rick blinked. "Sir, please, just give me a chance to explain." "You had your chance when she walked through that door," Kenneth snapped. "And you blew it. You're done." The room went silent. Rick, pale and speechless, slowly unclipped his badge and handed it over. Kenneth looked back at Nia. "We'll be reviewing all staff immediately. And I'll be reporting this to corporate first thing in the morning." The power structure had just been publicly shattered. And Nia hadn't raised her voice once. Rick stood frozen, his badge now clutched in Kenneth Drake's fist like a symbol of justice. What was once his kingdom, the sleek floors, the leather menus, the custom wine wall, now felt like a courtroom, and he was clearly the defendant. Kenneth turned to the rest of the staff. "Let this be a lesson. No one is above accountability. Not in this company." The hostess tried to sneak away toward the back, but Kenneth's voice followed her like a heat-seeking missile. "That includes you, young lady. Don't move." She stopped mid-step, face pale, fingers nervously fiddling with the edge of her apron. "Ms. Caldwell," Kenneth said, softening as he turned back to Nia, "please allow me to make this right. We've already cleared the VIP room for you. A new team will serve you personally. And trust me, we're handling this." Nia looked around, taking in the sea of eyes, whispers, and hidden phone cameras. She hadn't come here for drama. She'd come for dinner. But now, it had become something bigger, something systemic. "I didn't come here to embarrass anyone," she said evenly. "But you all made sure I was humiliated before I even said my name. The waiter from earlier, the only one who had recognized her, stepped forward shyly. "Ms. Caldwell, if it's okay, I'd be honored to serve you tonight." Nia's gaze softened for the first time. "What's your name?" "Dorian," he replied, straightening his posture with pride. "Then Dorian," she nodded. "You just became the reason I'm staying." Kenneth turned to the remaining staff. "As of now, Rick is terminated. The hostess is suspended pending review. And a company-wide retraining on equity and customer relations begins this week." A murmur of shock swept through the employees, but no one protested. As Nia walked toward the private dining room, heads turned, not out of curiosity this time, but respect. Guests whispered her name like folklore. Staff stood aside, watching the woman who not only walked with grace, but made change look effortless. Before disappearing behind the frosted glass doors, Nia glanced back once. "This wasn't about power," she said. "It was about being seen. Something everyone deserves, especially in a place that claims to serve people." The door shut behind her, and the reckoning was just beginning. Inside the private dining room, the atmosphere was a world apart, quiet, elegant, draped in warm golden light. But what made it feel different wasn't the decor. It was the sudden shift in how Nia Caldwell was now being treated. Gone were the dismissive stares, the smug indifference. Now, every staff member who entered the room moved with precision, humility, and urgency. A fresh table setting was arranged with flawless care. A sommelier nervously presented the wine list, and Dorian, the young waiter who had stood up earlier, was now coordinating service like a seasoned pro. "I've already informed the kitchen," he told her with a proud smile. "Your meal is being prepared by Chef Martinez himself." Nia gave a warm nod. "Thank you, Dorian. I appreciate how you handled yourself earlier. You didn't let the room tell you who I was. You knew." He smiled, humbled. "My mom used to quote you," said. "That woman made it out of nothing and never forgot who she was. I recognized you the second you walked in." Nia's expression softened. "Your mom raised a good man." Outside the glass, the once buzzing dining room had turned into something else entirely. Conversations had shifted from gossip to reverence. People who moments ago were watching her like a curiosity now viewed her like royalty. Even those who hadn't recognized her before were now Googling her name in real time. Tweets and TikToks had begun to surface with captions like, "This black CEO just fired a restaurant manager without raising her voice. They thought she didn't belong. Turns out she owns part of the company. That woman is Nia Caldwell." Meanwhile, the staff had been quietly shuffled. The hostess who snubbed her was nowhere to be seen, replaced by a more seasoned employee who now greeted incoming guests with meticulous courtesy. It wasn't just a meal anymore. It was a masterclass. As Nia sipped from a crystal glass of sparkling water, her phone buzzed. Messages from board members, executives, and even celebrity friends. One text read, "Just saw the clip. You handled that like a queen." But Nia wasn't celebrating. Because this wasn't about revenge. It was about dignity, hers, and everyone else who ever walked into a room and got ignored because of their skin, their status, or their silence. Tomorrow, the world would talk. But tonight, Nia would dine. By the next morning, the story was everywhere. Clips from the restaurant, blurry phone videos showing the moment Rick handed over his badge, the respectful hush that followed Nia into the private dining room, had gone viral across every major social platform. The hashtags #Nia Caldwell, #RespectIsServed, and #Black Excellence Unapologetic were trending worldwide. News outlets picked up the story within hours. Black CEO denied service, then fired the manager on the spot. They tried to shame her. Turns out, she owns the company. For Nia Caldwell, it wasn't just vindication. It was a statement. One she knew would resonate far beyond the walls of Brunel and Oak. Back at her penthouse suite, Nia stood by the window, sipping coffee as she watched the headlines unfold. A small smile tugged at the corner of her lips, not out of triumph, but purpose. She opened her laptop and drafted a post to her millions of followers. "Yesterday, I walked into a restaurant as a customer and left as a case study. I didn't fire that manager because I was offended. I did it because ignoring someone's humanity isn't just bad hospitality, it's bad business. Respect should never depend on who you think someone is. It should be standard. Nia Caldwell. The post exploded within minutes, shared by business leaders, educators, and activists across the globe. Back at Brunel and Oak, a new sign was posted by the host stand. We treat every guest with respect. No exceptions. The manager was replaced by someone with actual DEI training. The staff underwent company-wide re-education. And corporate sent out a memo stating that equity and empathy will no longer be buzzwords, but requirements. Meanwhile, Dorian, the young waiter who stood up for Nia, was offered a promotion and a scholarship through Caldwell Ventures' leadership program. As for the hostess, she never returned to the podium. But word spread that she later sent a letter to Nia, part apology, part reflection. Nia never mentioned it publicly. She didn't need to, because the moment was bigger than any single person. It was a reminder to everyone watching. Power isn't in the badge, or the suit, or the money. It's in the grace to stand tall when others try to make you small. And on that night, Nia Caldwell didn't just walk in for dinner. She served the entire world a lesson they wouldn't forget.